Welcome to HOA Violation Vault. The board picked the wrong week to play games. Karen marched up with a measuring tape and screamed that my tires were 1 inch over the line, and that counted as a violation. "You are out of compliance," she said, her voice cutting through the parking lot like a siren. I looked down at my front tire, then at the faded white line she was pointing to, then back at her face, which was twisted into something between triumph and rage. The measuring tape was still stretched across the asphalt, one end pinned under her boot, the other fluttering in the breeze that smelled like rain. I live in Lexington, Kentucky, in a neighborhood called Park Pass Ridge Association, and the rules here are not suggestions, they are weapons. I work as a mailroom supervisor at a corporate office, and I spend my days sorting chaos into order, so when I come home, the last thing I need is more chaos. But Sharon Thomas, the rules interpretation chair who claims she wrote the covenants herself, has made it her personal mission to turn my life into a compliance nightmare. My elderly parent is waiting on a ride tonight, and I cannot risk losing my car, not now, not over something this stupid. Sharon held the measuring tape up like it was a court exhibit. 1 inch, she said again. That is 1 inch over the guest parking boundary line, which means your vehicle is technically occupying a fire lane adjacency zone, and that is an automatic tow on-site violation. I stared at her. A fire lane adjacency zone. I had never heard that term in my life, and I had read the HOA bylaws 3 times before I signed the closing papers. She smiled, and it was not a kind smile. If you want mercy, move somewhere without an HOA. I opened my mouth to argue, but she was already turning away, pulling a clipboard wrapped in a clear plastic sleeve out of her oversized tote bag. She flipped through pages with the efficiency of someone who had done this 100 times. "I am calling the vendor now," she said, pulling out her phone. "You have 5 minutes to move it before the boot goes on." I looked at my car. It was a 12-year-old sedan with a faded parking permit decal on the windshield, the kind you peel off the backing and stick on the inside of the glass. I had kept the backing in a wallet sleeve because I am the kind of person who keeps receipts, and right now I was glad I did. "Wait," I said. "I have the permit." I pulled out my wallet and unfolded the plastic sleeve, showing her the decal backing with the lot number printed on it in tiny letters. She did not even look. "Your permit does not override the fire lane rule," she said. "And your license plate is slightly dusty, so I cannot verify that you are actually registered in the system." I blinked. My license plate was dusty because it had not rained in 2 weeks, and I parked near a construction zone. "That is not a violation," I said. She tapped her clipboard. "It is now." Behind her, I saw a tow truck turning into the lot, its amber lights flashing in the gray afternoon light. My stomach dropped. She had called them before she even measured my tire. I pulled my phone out and opened the camera app. "I am recording this," I said. She laughed. "Your camera does not matter. My minutes are the truth." She waved at the tow truck driver, a guy in a high-vis vest who looked like he had heard this script before. He climbed out of the cab and walked over, pulling a wheel lift controller from his belt. Sharon handed him a slip of paper, and he glanced at it, then at me, then at my car. "Fire lane adjacency," she said. He scratched his jaw. "I do not see a fire lane," he said. Sharon pointed at the faded line. "That is the boundary, and anything over it is considered adjacency under Section 12 of the parking addendum." The driver looked at me. "You got proof you are allowed to park here?" I nodded and pulled out my phone, opening the email from the HOA management company that confirmed my guest parking allocation. He read it, then looked at Sharon. "This says he is good through the end of the year." Sharon did not flinch. "The email is outdated," she said. "We updated the policy last week, and all adjacency violations are now subject to immediate immobilization." The driver sighed. "Lady, I do not get paid enough to referee this. You got paperwork that says the policy changed." She pulled another sheet from her clipboard and handed it to him. He read it, shook his head, and handed it back. "This is just a draft proposal. It is not signed." Sharon's face went red. It was approved in executive session, she said. He shrugged. Then get me the signed copy, and I will boot the car. Otherwise, I am not touching it. Sharon spun toward me, and for a second I thought she might actually throw the clipboard. You think you are clever, she said. You think you can hide behind technicalities. I did not say anything, because I wanted her comfortable and careless. She took a breath, smoothed her blazer, and pulled out her phone again. Fine, she said. If he will not do it, I will find someone who will. She started scrolling through her contacts, and I realized she was calling different tow drivers like she was speed dialing chaos. I walked over to my car and checked the permit decal again. It was still there, still valid, still visible through the glass. I took a photo of it, then a photo of the faded parking line, then a photo of Sharon on the phone 20 feet away. The tow driver leaned against his truck and lit a cigarette. You live here, he asked. I nodded. Good luck, man. He climbed back into his cab and pulled out of the lot, leaving Sharon standing there with her phone pressed to her ear. She ended the call and looked at me. Someone will be here in 10 minutes, she said. And when they get here, you are going to wish you had just moved the car. I crossed my arms. I am not moving it, I said. It is legally parked, and you know it. She smiled again, that same cold smile. We will see what the vendor says. Then she turned and walked toward the gatehouse, her lanyard swinging with every step. I sat down on the curb and opened my phone. I had been gathering proof for weeks, ever since Sharon started targeting me. I had a documented log of repeated gate access failures tied to her admin account, failures that happened every time I tried to use the guest lot and she happened to be on duty. I had screenshots of her texts to other board members where she called me a compliance risk and suggested making an example out of me. And I had a clean timeline packet with dates, receipts, permit confirmations, and photos that showed every single time she had lied about a rule or invented a violation. But I was not ready to show it yet. I wanted her to keep digging, keep escalating, keep leaving a trail. Because the deeper she went, the harder she would fall. If you are enjoying this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more HOA nightmare tales. 10 minutes later, a different tow truck rolled into the lot. This one was bigger, with a flatbed and a heavy-duty winch. The driver was younger, maybe mid-20s, and he had the clipboard before he even got out of the truck. Sharon was right behind him, pointing at my car like it was evidence at a crime scene. That one, she said. Fire lane violation, refusal to comply, and the owner is hostile. The driver looked at me. You hostile? I shook my head. I am just sitting here. He walked over and checked the parking lines, then checked my permit decal, then pulled out a handheld scanner and aimed it at my license plate. The scanner beeped, and he looked at the screen. You are registered in the system, he said. Sharon stepped closer. His plate is obscured, she said. That is a secondary violation. The driver wiped the plate with his sleeve, and the dust came off in one swipe. Looks fine to me, he said. Sharon's jaw tightened, then checked the fire lane boundary. He pulled out his own measuring tape and ran it from the curb to my front tire. You are inside the line, he said. She pointed at the faded line I had been parked near. That is the adjacency line, she said. The boundary is 6 inches forward of that. The driver looked at her. Lady, I do not see a second line. She pulled out her phone and showed him a photo. This is from last month, she said. You can see the line clearly. He zoomed in on the photo, then looked at the actual parking lot. That line is gone, he said. If it is not marked, it is not enforceable. Sharon made a noise that was half frustration and half disbelief. She turned to me. You did this, she said. You had someone remove the line. I laughed, because the accusation was so absurd I could not help it. I did not touch the line, I said. It faded because nobody repaints it. She shook her head. No. You are sabotaging the HOA, and I am going to prove it. She pulled out her clipboard again and started writing. The driver looked at me and shrugged. I am out, he said. Call me when you got real paperwork." He climbed back into his truck and drove off, and Sharon stood there in the middle of the parking lot, shaking with rage. I stood up and brushed the dirt off my jeans. "I am going inside now," I said. She did not move. "This is not over," she said. "I know," I said. And I walked toward my building, feeling her eyes burning into my back. That night I got an email from the HOA management company. It was short and formal, the kind of message that sounds polite but means trouble. "We have received a report that you damaged common property, specifically the parking lot boundary markings in guest lot B. You are required to pay for repainting costs within 48 hours, or you will be charged a daily penalty of $50 until the work is completed." I read it twice, then checked the timestamp. It had been sent 6 minutes after Sharon left the parking lot. I replied immediately. I did not damage any property. The line faded naturally due to weather and lack of maintenance. I request a formal inspection and documentation of the damage before any charges are applied. I hit send and sat back, knowing it would not matter. Sharon was not interested in facts. She was interested in punishment. The next morning, I walked out to my car and found a bright yellow tire clamp locked onto my front wheel. There was a sticker on the clamp with a phone number and a warning about unauthorized removal, but no readable text explaining the actual violation. I pulled out my phone and took photos from every angle, then called the number on the sticker. A recorded message told me that the clamp had been applied due to an outstanding violation, and that I needed to contact the HOA office to arrange payment and removal. I called the HOA office. A receptionist answered, her voice flat and tired. "Park Pass Ridge Association, how can I help you?" "I need to get a tire clamp removed from my car," I said. She clicked her keyboard. "Name." I gave it to her. She clicked some more. "You have an outstanding charge for property damage," she said. "Once you pay the repainting fee and the immobilization fee, we can schedule removal." "How much?" I asked. $350. I felt my chest tighten. I had not damaged anything, and now I was being charged for a clamp that should never have been applied in the first place. I took a breath. "I am disputing the charge," I said. "The line faded on its own, and I have photos proving my car was legally parked." The receptionist sighed. "You can file a dispute at the next board meeting," she said. "Until then, the clamp stays on." "When is the next meeting?" I asked. 2 weeks. I hung up and stood there in the parking lot, staring at the yellow clamp. My elderly parent was waiting on a ride tonight, and now I had no car. My mental health had been fragile for months, and the harassment was pushing me to the edge. I could feel the panic rising, the same tight feeling I got when everything started to spiral. I closed my eyes and counted to 10, the way my therapist taught me. Then I opened them and started making calls. The first call was to a lawyer. I explained the situation, and she listened without interrupting. "That sounds like a violation of your rights under the HOA covenants," she said. "If they applied the clamp without proper notice and documentation, you may have grounds for a lawsuit. But litigation takes time, and it is expensive. Do you have proof that you were legally parked?" "I do," I said. "Then my advice is to document everything. File a formal complaint with the city and show up to the board meeting with your evidence. If they refuse to remove the clamp, we can escalate." The second call was to my neighbor, a guy named Marcus who sits near the front at meetings and records everything. He had been warning me about Sharon for months, ever since she tried to fine him for having the wrong color mailbox. When I told him about the clamp, he swore under his breath. "She is out of control," he said. "I have been documenting her for a year, and I have a whole folder of complaints from other homeowners. You should see it. Bring it to the meeting," I said. "We are going to need it." The third call was to a rental car company, because I still needed to get my parent to their appointment. The rental cost me $120 for 2 days, money I did not have to spare. But I did not have a choice. I picked up the rental, drove my parent to their appointment, and spent the whole time thinking about what I was going to say at the board meeting. That afternoon, a vendor showed up at my door. He was holding a tablet and wearing a polo shirt with a company logo I did not recognize. "I am here to verify parking compliance," he said. "I need to inspect your vehicle registration and take photos of your assigned space." I frowned. "I already gave the HOA my registration," I said. He tapped his tablet. "This is a secondary verification," he said. "It is required for all disputed cases." I felt my jaw tighten. This was Sharon, sending someone to provoke a reaction so she could add another violation to the list. I let him take his photos, answered his questions, and watched him walk back to his van. He did not say a word about the tire clamp, which told me everything I needed to know. This was not about compliance. This was about control. 2 days later, I got another email. This one was from Sharon directly, sent from her personal address with the HOA logo in the signature. "You are required to appear at an emergency compliance hearing tomorrow at 6. Failure to attend will result in additional fines and possible lien action. Bring all documentation related to your parking violations and property damage claim. The hearing will be held in the clubhouse conference room. Attendance is mandatory." I forwarded the email to Marcus and to my lawyer. Marcus replied within minutes, "I will be there." My lawyer replied an hour later, "Do not go alone, and do not sign anything without reading it first. If they try to intimidate you, stay calm and stick to the facts." I have seen HOAs like this before, and they rely on homeowners being too scared or too tired to fight back. You have the evidence. Use it. That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through every scenario in my head. What if Sharon brought her own lawyer? What if the board voted against me no matter what I said? What if they put a lien on my property and I lost everything? The anxiety was crushing, but underneath it was something else. Anger. Cold. Focused anger that had been building for weeks. The next evening, I walked into the clubhouse with a tabbed binder under my arm. Marcus was already there, sitting in the front row with his phone on the table, recording. Sharon was at the head of the conference table, flanked by 2 other board members I recognized, but had never spoken to. Her clipboard was in front of her, wrapped in that clear plastic sleeve like it made her official. She looked up when I walked in, and her expression shifted from smug to something sharper. "You are late," she said. I checked my watch. "It is 5:58, I said. "The hearing starts at 6. She made a note on her clipboard. "Attitude will be documented," she said. I sat down across from her and set my binder on the table. Marcus gave me a nod. One of the other board members, an older man with wire-rimmed glasses, cleared his throat. "Let us begin," he said. "This hearing is to address multiple violations related to parking, property damage, and non-compliance with HOA regulations. Mr. Thomas, you have the floor." Sharon opened her clipboard and started reading. "The respondent has repeatedly violated parking boundaries, ignored adjacency rules, and damaged common property by removing or obscuring boundary markings. In addition, he has demonstrated a pattern of hostility toward HOA personnel and has refused to cooperate with compliance inspections. I recommend immediate escalation to lien proceedings and a suspension of all parking privileges pending full restitution." She looked up at me, waiting for a reaction. I opened my binder. "I have documentation that disproves every claim you just made," I said. I slid the first page across the table. "This is the email from the management company confirming my guest parking allocation. It is valid through the end of the year." Sharon glanced at it. "That allocation does not override adjacency rules," she said. I slid the second page across. "This is a photo of the parking lot from last week, showing that there is no marked adjacency line. The line you referenced in your report faded months ago due to lack of maintenance." Sharon's face went red. "The line was visible at the time of the violation," she said. I slid the third page across. "This is a time-stamped photo from my phone, taken the same day you measured my tire. No line." She stared at the photo, then looked at the other board members. "He could have edited that," she said. Marcus spoke up from the front row. I have the same photo from my phone, he said. Same timestamp. You want to see it. The man with the glasses held up his hand. Let us move on, he said. What about the property damage claim? I pulled out the next section of my binder. This is a series of photos showing the parking lot over the past 6 months. You can see the line fading progressively due to weather and wear. I did not damage anything. In fact, the HOA has failed to maintain the lot, which is a violation of its own maintenance obligations under the covenants. Sharon stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. This is a waste of time, she said. He is lying, and you are all falling for it. The man with the glasses frowned. Sit down, Sharon. She did not sit. I have been working for this association for 5 years, she said. I have written the policies. I have enforced the rules. And now you are going to let him walk in here and make me look like a fool. Nobody is making you look like anything, the man said. Sit down. Sharon sat, but her hands were shaking. I pulled out the final section of my binder. This is the part I had been saving. I have a documented log of repeated gate access failures tied to your admin account, I said. Every time I tried to use the guest lot and you were on duty, the gate system logged a manual override denial. The system keeps records, Sharon, and those records show that you have been deliberately blocking my access for weeks. Her face went white. That is not true, she said. I slid the printout across the table. The man with the glasses picked it up and read it, his expression darkening. These are official system logs, he said. Sharon, did you manually deny his access? She did not answer. He looked at me. Where did you get this? I filed a records request with the management company, I said. They are required to provide access logs under the covenants. The man set the paper down and looked at Sharon. This is serious, he said. If you have been using your admin access to retaliate against a homeowner, that is a violation of your fiduciary duty. Sharon's voice was tight. He is twisting everything, she said. He has been a problem since day one, and I was just trying to enforce the rules. The man shook his head. Enforcement does not include personal vendettas. Marcus leaned forward. I have something too, he said. He pulled a folder from his bag and handed it to the man with the glasses. These are complaints from other homeowners about Sharon. 16 complaints in the past year, all documenting harassment, selective enforcement, and retaliation. The man opened the folder and flipped through the pages. His jaw tightened. Why was I not aware of this? Because Sharon handles all the complaints, Marcus said. She filters them before they reach the board. The man looked at Sharon. Is that true? She did not answer. He closed the folder and set it on the table. This hearing is over, he said. The tire clamp will be removed immediately, and all fines and fees will be refunded. Sharon, you are suspended from your position pending a full investigation. We will reconvene in 2 weeks to determine next steps. Sharon stood up, grabbed her clipboard, and walked out of the room without another word. The door slammed behind her, and the room went quiet. The man with the glasses looked at me. I apologize for what you have been through, he said. This should never have happened. I nodded, too exhausted to feel anything close to victory yet. The next morning, I walked out to my car and found the tire clamp gone. In its place was a handwritten note tucked under my windshield wiper. It said, "Clamp removed per board order. No further action required." I took a photo of the note, then got in my car and drove to the hardware store. I had an appointment. The hardware store parking lot was where everything came together. I had arranged to meet the owner of the tow company Sharon had been using, a man named Greg, who ran a small operation out of a garage near the interstate. When I pulled in, he was leaning against his truck, arms crossed. "You the guy with the HOA problem?" he asked. I nodded. He shook his head. "I have been dealing with Sharon for 2 years, he said. She calls me every week with some new emergency, and half the time the car is not even in violation. I am done with it." I pulled out my phone and showed him the access logs. "She has been targeting me," I said, "and she has been using your company to do it." He looked at the logs, then looked at me. "You got proof she lied to me." I pulled out the timeline packet, the photos, the emails. He flipped through them, his expression getting harder with each page. "She told me you were a repeat offender," he said. "She said you had been warned multiple times." "That is not true," I said. "She made it up." Greg handed the papers back. "I am cutting ties with Park Pass Ridge," he said. "I do not work for liars." He pulled out his phone and made a call, putting it on speaker. A woman answered. "Park Pass Ridge Association. This is Greg with Northside Towing," he said. "I am terminating our contract effective immediately. I will not be responding to any further calls from your community." The woman started to respond, but he hung up. He looked at me. "You should file a complaint with the city," he said. "What she is doing is fraud, and if the HOA is backing her, they are liable too." I nodded. "I already did." He climbed into his truck and started the engine. "Good luck, man." And then he drove off, leaving me standing in the parking lot with my phone in my hand and a strange cold sense of satisfaction settling in my chest. 2 weeks later, the board meeting was packed. Every seat was filled, and people were standing along the walls. Marcus was in the front row again, recording. I sat near the middle, my binder on my lap. Sharon was not there. The man with the glasses called the meeting to order and cleared his throat. "We are here to address the findings of the investigation into recent enforcement practices," he said. "After reviewing the evidence, the board has determined that multiple violations of fiduciary duty occurred, and corrective action is required." He opened a folder and pulled out a sheet of paper. "This is an email from the management company, dated 3 months ago. It contains a directive from a former board member instructing Sharon Thomas to make an example out of one homeowner in order to deter future compliance issues." The room went silent. The email specifically names the respondent in this case. He looked up. That directive was illegal, unethical, and a violation of our governing documents. The man continued. "Effective immediately, Sharon Thomas has been removed from her position. All fines and fees levied against the respondent have been refunded in full. In addition, the board has agreed to implement a new complaint review process to prevent future retaliation. We have also filed a formal response to the city compliance review, acknowledging the issues and outlining corrective steps. If we do not comply, we will face fines and potential loss of our self-governance status." He set the paper down. "Your camera does not matter. My minutes are the truth." That is what Ms. Thomas said during one of the documented encounters. Her bluff has been read, and the room has reacted. The board has voted unanimously to adopt a zero-tolerance policy for selective enforcement. There was applause, scattered at first, then louder. I sat there, feeling the weight lift off my chest for the first time in months. After the meeting, Marcus walked over. "You did it," he said. I shook my head. "We did it." He grinned. "Sharon tried calling me yesterday," he said. "She wanted me to back her up at the meeting. I told her to lose my number. I laughed, and it felt good." A week later, I got a letter in the mail. It was from a lawyer representing Sharon Thomas. The letter demanded that I retract my statements, cease all defamatory communications, and issue a public apology. I read it twice, then forwarded it to my lawyer. She called me an hour later. "This is a bluff," she said. "She has no case. If she tries to sue, we will countersue for harassment and abuse of process. Do you want me to respond?" "Yes," I said. "Make it clear." 3 days later, Sharon's lawyer sent a retraction. The letter stated that the previous demand was issued in error and that no further action would be taken. My lawyer called it a surrender. I called it karma, a lawyer letter that forces a retraction and a refund. That was the payback vector, and it worked exactly as it should have. The final piece came a month later. The HOA refunded the tow and immobilization fees and cleared the ledger. Every bogus charge, every invented fine, gone. The management company sent a formal letter apologizing for the enforcement failures and confirming that new oversight procedures were in place. The board elected a new compliance officer, someone who actually read the rules before enforcing them. I ran into Sharon once more at the grocery store near the neighborhood. She was in the checkout line ahead of me, and when she saw me, her face went pale. She did not say anything. She just grabbed her bags and walked out. I did not say anything either. I did not need to. Marcus texted me later that night. "Did you hear? Sharon moved out. She is selling her place and leaving the state." I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back. "Good." He sent a thumbs up emoji. "The neighborhood group chat has been celebrating all day," he wrote. "You are a legend." I did not feel like a legend. I felt like someone who had survived something that should never have happened in the first place. But I also felt something else. Relief. The kind of deep, bone-level relief that comes from knowing the fight is over and you won. I still live at Park Pass Ridge Association. I still park in guest lot B. My permit is still on my windshield, and my license plate is still a little dusty. But nobody measures my tires anymore. Nobody calls the tow truck. Nobody sends me threatening emails or shows up at my door with a clipboard wrapped in plastic. Sharon is gone. The rules are enforced fairly now, and my elderly parent gets their rides on time, every time, because my car is exactly where it should be. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.